This is KLEAN Radio.
Welcome Los Angeles. Welcome to people listening on KFWB News Talk 980 Los Angeles, our flagship station, or Extreme Talk XM channel 165, or on the World Wide Web at KLEANradio.com. KLEAN Radio is now sponsored by TreatmentLine.com. And the great news tonight, KLEAN Radio fans, is my compadre, my friend, my mentor, the great Andrew Spanswick is back in the studio.
Thank you, Judah. It's good to be back.
Yes. No.
Been on the road for a while.
Yeah, no longer are you Where's Waldo.
Yeah, right?
You're in front of me. So,
actually, I'm not just a voice.
Yeah, you're not just a voice. And how was it? How was the defining road trip of your life?
It was
21 days, right?
Yeah, 6,500 miles. Yeah, not one fight. Unbelievable.
And you went with a good friend of ours and the great Barry
Robinson. Yeah, we traveled the nation and did a lot of exciting things.
And the coolest thing is you did it sober.
That's true.
Yeah, yes. And we are a show about sobriety. We're a show about life after you get sober, and we're constantly confronted it's amazing. Every day I am confronted by people with different questions, and last night I was talking to a few people at this party I was at, and they were talking to me about fear. And they were talking to me about, and you run KLEAN Treatment Center.
Well, and I know you have a lot of fear, and I have to deal with that all the time.
Right, it's friends. It's so-called friends. And I was actually I was talking to myself. And but one of the things that you hear so much of is people out there. I mean, we're in one of the worst economic times right now. People are struggling. People feel like they're alone.
Yeah, I just drove across the country, and I was actually shocked. I mean, I did it a few years back, but 6,500 miles we zigzagged across the U.S., and it was shocking how bad the economy is and how much it's affecting people, and fuel prices across the country, and just talking to people, and the prevalence of alcoholism is just amazing to me. I was just in the Pacific Northwest where we're working on a new hospital that we're starting, and I was just shocked. It was really...
So what do you say to people? What do you say to people that are listening at home, listening in their cars, listening wherever? What do you say to them that they feel so alone right now?
Yeah, for most people, it's a sense of hopelessness that you run into. They've gotten into a pattern, and their life has become very small, and they're stuck in doing what they do every day, and they don't see any out. And in rural parts of America, especially, which are ignored by most people. It was funny coming back into L.A., and I hadn't been in L.A. in 20 days. I've been in all these rural places throughout the U.S., and, you just come into the city, and it's just such a difference from what the vast majority of the country is like. And I think, people are used to hearing Los Angeles, and they think luxury celebrity rehabs. And, I just feel really good about what we're doing up in Washington, starting to build rehabs for people that, are
Can't
not famous.
Yeah.
And need to have affordable quality care. And so I'm really excited about that. It's really where my heart is, more than, just being somebody that wants to be famous for the sake of being famous. I don't quite get that.
Your heart's with me also. Just be
Judah,
honest.
you just miss me that much.
I did miss you a lot. But, and it's also like, I think a lot of times people don't know how to say I need help.
Right.
And, we know people are out there because after the show we get tons of calls, tons of texts from people going, I wish I would have called. I'm struggling. And one thing I'll say to people right now is, if you're going through a rough time, give us a call. I know it's scary. Or give somebody a call. You don't have to give us a call, but give somebody a call and say, I need help.
Yeah, well, we have, I'd love to get people to call in.
Yeah.
We get great calls, and it's nice to be able to help people over the air.
Yeah.
What's the number here?
The number is, I know, it's been a while for you. The number is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. One more time, that's 888-539-2980. We have an awesome show tonight. Our KLEAN listeners, we had just one of the most amazingly talented actors out there, and I think I could say that from the bottom of my heart. I'm the only person in the studio tonight, I think, without a tattoo, and I feel great. And with that, let's welcome Danny Trejo to the air, star of Machete, and just, 1,000 other movies. There's too much to name. Welcome to KLEAN Radio, Danny.
Thank you, and I'm going to talk to Mark Mahoney over at Shamrock Tattoo and maybe get you
Hook Judah up?
Hook Judah up, yeah.
His mom will get
my
very
mom
upset.
actually listens to the show, Danny, and my mom, trust me, you might not want to go through my mom. Welcome to KLEAN Radio.
Thank you.
And before the show, obviously, you were telling me about you've been filming this movie in Romania.
I filmed a film in Romania that I finished called Dead in Tombstone, and from Romania we went to Austin, Texas to do Machete Kills, which is part 2 of Machete, you know, so it's got quite a cast, you know. I mean, we got
Mel Gibson.
hello.
The women, I mean,
hello.
Does your wife get? You're married, right?
I'm divorced.
No, you're divorced. Oh no, divorced now, right?
After she found out you took the movie with Michelle Rodriguez.
Jessica Alba.
We got
and,
Jessica
yeah.
Alba,
Yeah.
Sofia Braga,
Who?
Amber Heard.
That's not the tattoo.
You know.
Shit, that's not the tattoo.
I think so. It kind of looks like Sofia.
Hey, we got a camera
Everybody
over
out
here.
there watching right now on Clean Radio, Danny Trejo is showing us the.
It's either Michelle Rodriguez or
You can.
or
It can be
Sophia.
both. Depends on the night, right?
But you were sharing about that there's a huge epidemic there right now with the teens.
Oh,
You're
Romania
very
is
big
crazy.
into helping teenagers.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm working with any alcoholics, you know,
Right.
any alcoholics, drug addicts, and it's, you know, in the Latin community, especially, people don't really like talking about it. Man, you don't want to really know there's a dope fiend in the family, you know. So, with me, it was really hard to hide, you know, being in the front page of the paper. So, but it's like I love going to high schools, and I love going to juvenile halls, and that's what I do. You know, that's how I got into the movie business, was going to actually just hang out with somebody that wanted to stay clean. You know, and I wish a lot of more actors, you know, would do it, and the reason is because, you know, especially when you talk to kids, it's real hard to get their attention because they have no attention span whatsoever, which is, you know, that's the way they're born, and then you've got to like keep their attention, which is impossible. Then you got to show them you're cool, which is impossible if you're 5 years older and a teenager. It's not cool. And then deliver your message, which is, you know, education, staying clean, staying sober. And the good thing about the film industry is that the minute I walk onto campus, I've got their attention. Not me per se, but the guy from Con Air, the guy from Desperado, the guy from Spy Kids, the guy from Bubble Boy. He's got their attention, and they want to hear what he wants to say. You know, and so you know, teachers have told me, you know, the kids that don't come to these functions are here, you know, just to hear the guy from Spy Kids or the guy from, you know, and so it's what a blessing, you know, what a blessing to be able to make a difference in somebody's life.
So you encourage a lot of actors. A lot of actors obviously don't have your courage right now to come out and say, how long are you sober?
Right now, August 23rd, it'll be 44 years.
Oh, my God.
My goodness. Well, I was one.
Yeah. I wasn't a glim.
But, you know, and so it's like, it doesn't.
I'm
you know,
feeling really
doesn't
old
matter.
because I think I look a lot older than Danny is.
You know, when you show up at a high school, you know, it's like, you know, me and there's a couple of you know, Donald Logue. There's a couple of, you know, actors
Great
that have
guy,
done it
great.
awesome, you know,
Awesome guy.
And he'll go to a high school juvenile hall in a minute, you know, and I just finished talking to him. He's in Louisiana or somewhere, you know.
To people that don't know who you're talking about, he's talking about Donald Logue. He's been in everything.
Yeah,
Also, Jerry Maguire. He had a
yeah.
show on Fox for a
Yeah,
bunch of years.
yeah,
Just an
yeah.
incredible actor, fellow Irish. Oh, you're Scottish. Sorry.
Just call me Irish?
Yeah, no, he's. I know. It's,
Great guy.
You're
Now
just
you're
an
getting a
amazing
tattoo.
guy.
I met him in a movie called Reindeer Games up in
I
Prince
remember that.
George.
A little movie.
We were in
Yeah,
Prince
Ben
George,
Affleck.
yeah.
It's like-
We're in Prince George, Canada,
Right.
British Columbia, you know, and
Hence the reindeers.
we were in a in a drop-in center for the, you know, Salvation Army. There was a meeting there, and it was
Wow.
like, "Hey, buddy, what do you?"
So how did you got sober at 44 years?
Yeah,
Wow.
well, he was 3.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
He's only
So tell us
47.
about that. Tell us about how you got sober.
I got sober in Soledad State Penitentiary in 1968, and
Wow,
I was
1968.
24 years old, and I was just, you know,
Truly the summer of love.
completely insane. And so it's funny because when people talk about the millennium, and I shut up. I wasn't going to get out of the 60s. Right?
Right. You were mid-century.
Yeah. So, but
At least you weren't in New York because you would have been in Attica probably.
yeah.
So,
Well, you know what? I mean, California's got a couple of. We were sitting in San Quentin for a few years.
that was no easy ride, huh?
Yeah, you know, and so. And
Is that what sobered you up, you think, getting in prison? Or
I'd
you
been in
think-
prison before. I mean, well, I'll tell you, you know, what sobered me up was a 12-step program. You know, because you know you can spend the rest of your life in prison and not really get get sobriety. You know, I mean,
There's
I
a lot
stayed
of drugs
drunk
in
and stayed loaded
prison,
in
right?
prison. Yeah, you know, no. In fact, in 1968, in Soledad, in the hole, I went to the hole Cinco de Mayo. I got out August 23rd, and I literally kicked my last habit in the hole in Soledad.
Wow.
You know, so.
By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio Live. That's KLEAN with a K. You might be listening to us on KFWB News Talk 980 or Extreme Talk, XM Channel 165, our brand new station. And also at KLEANRadio.com. We have an amazing guest in the studio tonight. His name is Danny Trejo. I mean, just every movie in the world I think you might be in. You might be in more movies than Samuel L. Jackson.
It's funny you said that. Me and Sam, we're like neck and neck.
Yeah, it's
You
a
guys
lot of
have a
movies.
competition?
I did a film with Sam called Against the Wall. Attica, Against the Wall. It was about Attica.
Yeah,
right?
I've seen that movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was me and Sam. It was a great guy. We were both just kind of getting started then. Yeah.
And by the way, you could call us at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. Call us, email us. Just don't text us. Why?
Machete don't text.
You said it. Was that you that just said it, or was that okay? Yeah. Good job, guys in the back. And we're in the studio tonight with Danny Trejo. So you got sober in 1968.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest drug year in America, probably, right?
That was the big one.
That
But
was-
Soledad just was not the best place in the world to be. You know?
And did people come into prison?
Yeah.
How did you find the 12 steps? How did you find?
You know what? I actually found the 12 steps in 1959.
God.
And there was about 20 of us cruising around in Pacoima where I lived. You know, there were 20 of us, a whole carload, and we were looking for parties to crash, and we saw a bunch of cars in front of a old house and thought it was a party, and we kicked in the door, and the first thing we saw was a sign that said "We Care." And we had just crashed the Friday night speakers meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, and it was, you know,
Oh,
it
my
was
goodness.
kind of, I'm carrying a case of beer, 3 bottles of wine, half pint of whiskey, and
That was a triggering event for everybody at the meeting.
you know, but
Anyway.
you know, they welcomed us, and that was my introduction. You know, I think it's funny. It's like somebody told me, once you've been introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a reason for that. You know, there's a reason, and the reason was previews of Coming Attractions. You know, this guy whispered the curse. He said, "Danny, if you leave this program, you will die, go insane, or go to jail." And he just described the next 10 years of my life.
Except the dying part, thank goodness.
Yeah.
You know, I ended up in a hospital a couple of times. You know.
Right. Close calls.
Yeah.
By the way, we do have a call. Let's go to line 1. It's Doc. Hey, Doc. Welcome to KLEAN Radio.
What's going on, Judah?
How's one of our biggest fans doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm just happy to get through tonight.
So you have a couple
That's great.
You have a
Hey,
couple
you got a
questions
question
for Danny?
Yeah, actually, I did. Actually, Danny, it's a pleasure to be on the phone with you. Actually, you answered my question about addiction in prison. Anyway, like how you overcame that. Because I know oftentimes when people go into, whether it's a jail system or a prison system, oftentimes it continues through that, because quite often I know that drugs and alcohol can flourish through there. But I think you actually brought up an interesting point, which leads to, I guess, my next question, which is talking about kids about it. And like how frequent are you speaking to the public and kids specifically about addiction and just staying away from it?
Every chance I get, every chance I get. I mean, prevention is probably one of the most important things there is. I think kids should, start being taught about drugs and alcohol when they're 8. It's just
It's
ridiculous.
a tough thing to do. I mean, most kids are so jaded, and we see just a complete lack of really most kids are in denial that even drugs, like most people think marijuana is not bad for you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I got to say this, that for a long time ago, I was a real advocate of legalizing marijuana till my son explained to me, wait a minute, Dad, this isn't the same weed you were smoking.
Yeah, right.
Man. You were smoking marijuana. We got marijuana and you know, Kirsch. I mean, they got it's the same things that are in cigarettes. Cigarettes are there to hook you. You know, that's what they're for. That's people growing weed now are no longer, you know, growing it
recreational.
Yeah.
It's like 12 times stronger.
But at least.
You know, 12,
but I think it's something that's important also to talk about what Doc's referring to is you work with teenagers. They might not get the message then. You know, I had a drug counselor in Israel when I was 18 years old, and he said to me, he
should be fired.
And he goes to me, he goes, you're probably not going to get this now. He goes, but you will never get my face out of your head.
Exactly.
And he looked like Charles Manson.
I never got that guy that whispered the curse, die, go insane, go to jail. Every time I get in trouble, I would hear that, die, go insane, go to jail.
And people don't realize that you're planting the seed.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's hard to run from the truth, right?
My son has a band right now. It's called De Novo. I forget what it means. Damn it! It's Latin for something new or some coming around new. I don't know. Anyway, but he's got a song. Him and his girlfriend, they got a song called "No More Meds," and it's amazing.
Wow.
He wrote that when he was like 15.
Wow.
You know, because of him, all his friends, everybody, moms here,
everybody on
medication.
Yeah. ADHD medicine.
And we have a society that's on medication.
Well, 52% of Americans are on a regular prescription for some sort of behavioral health drug.
All right.
By the way, Doc, thank you so much for calling.
Thank you,
We'll talk
Doc.
to you next week, Doc. If you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio Live. That's KLEAN with a K. You're listening to us on News Talk 980, our flagship station. Also, Extreme Talk XM channel 165. And you want to see us in the studio tonight, type in, you know, they don't want to see us, Andrew. They want to see the amazing Danny Trejo. Go to KLEANradio.com and click our live stream.
Your mom wants to see you, Judah.
My mom does want to see me. Give me the call. Give us a call at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. Something very interesting, Danny. We're in the studio tonight with the amazing Danny Trejo. And something we were talking about before, and I was going to ask you this question, and Andrew's like, well, you might not want to. And I was going to ask because I found this. I grew up a Jewish kid in Brooklyn. My first rehab I went to was in Florida, and I remember the first thing I heard was the Lord's Prayer. And I was a little, I had never heard this before. And I'm sure, when you meet a lot of Latino kids, you don't see that many in the 12-step programs, especially in LA, in the in certain meetings. Is there an issue? Why are enough Latinos getting help with addiction?
Well, I mean, it's increased. It's increased. We have a lot of Spanish-speaking meetings, a lot of kind of Latin orientated.
That would
meetings.
explain why Judah wasn't there.
One of the things that you got to remember that my grandmother was basically could not believe that I didn't drink. I mean, because Mexican men, Latino, we drink. It's
part of the
we
culture.
Drink hard.
I'm half Scottish, so I got the same thing.
I hate to say it's part of the culture because we have Latins that don't drink and just I don't drink. Yeah, my mom. But my grandmother would just say "Do más dos, mijo," just two, just drink two. Well, that's fine for somebody that can let the ice melt in their drink,
right.
But for somebody that's pounding them down, so. I tried to explain her, and she couldn't get it that, wait a minute, you don't drink? And so she went to her grave, pointing every time I walk in, she goes, just two, mijo, just two. Okay, just two, Grandma, that's it. And I wasn't drinking, but what I like is when I go into schools and I talk, it's like a lot of the kids, Latin, where can I go to one of those meetings, And some of them, can you come talk to my dad or can you come talk to my mom? So it's like
it's amazing.
So I think the hook that blessing that I've got from God of just being in the movies, they love the guy from Con Air. Parents don't like him.
So do I.
You know what I mean? And then they all grew up with Spy Kids. Robert Rodriguez. Right now we're doing some things with Robert.
An amazingly talented director.
Oh God, he's unbelievable. You know, I mean, and that's my 9th movie with him. Machete Kills. You know? It makes Machete look like a nursery rhyme. It's like,
Oh my goodness.
I killed 32 people in the first 8 minutes of the movie. You know?
That's awesome.
That's a lot.
Yeah, well, it's it's not a lot of literary value, but it's sure entertaining.
So do you have some people that say, hey, like, you're in a lot of violent films and, is that a good role model? And how do you balance sort of being this action sort of, villain in most of the roles you're in with dealing with sobriety and, trying to switch that image for kids? Because that's a lot of what you're doing, right?
Well, you know what? I don't think we don't give them enough credit. They know
what's real and
what's not real.
Yeah.
I think it's
they
the
love
adults. I think it's the adults.
Exactly.
That don't know
The adults
what's
that
right.
don't,
Kids get it.
Exactly.
Right.
What's so funny is like when I say, my uncle turned me on to grass when I was like 8 years old. When I say that in front of a bunch of adults, they go, oh my God. They're like, when I say that to a high school, oh yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Most of them smoking weed.
Well, also, it's, adults, once they become adults and they have children, they're like in denial. They have that fear, and they forget what they did when they were 13 or 14.
Which is interesting. You were telling us the story in the Blue Room out there about.
Is it blue?
Yeah, it's blue.
We have a blue green
Danny
room?
said he's never seen a green room, so I'm just calling it the Blue Room. You were telling a story about your son, and with the tattoo, and you were like, "What am I going to say?" You want it.
But again, it's like what it's like they get it. The kids get it. I mean, my daughter loved From Dusk to Dawn. And she was 6, I think. And she knows it's play blood and it's I didn't really die. And she loved it when my eyes went in the pool pockets.
Right. It's true. It's like I saw. I grew up in the '80s. I saw every mission. I saw every Chuck Norris movie. I didn't, go and get an AK-47 and go into the jungle somewhere and start shooting people.
It's because you wouldn't know how to work it, Judah.
That's true too.
You probably shoot yourself in the foot.
I would have. That was a shirt. If I picked up a gun, yes, I was shooting myself in the foot.
It's kind of funny because we got to stop just blaming. Put the blame here. Put the blame there. Put the blame because it's like me. It's like I did some movies called Spy Kids, and I can always tell what parents are watching, what their kids are watching. Because when these kids come running up to me in the airport, Uncle Machete, and their moms are like, go crazy. What are you doing? They're not. They don't. Oh, you're not watching what your kid watches.
Right.
That's a
That's
great
really
test,
interesting,
actually.
right?
That's, It's how what movies people recognize you from is how you know what parents are doing in their kids'
What
life.
is with you're named after a knife or sword in
what?
most of the movies you've been in?
I think Robert Rodriguez got a hold of my parole plans. Because my parole plans, I was never to be in the possession or near any weapon of any kind. No knives, no sharp objects. So he just said, he named me after every character. So machete, navajas, cuchillo.
Right, all these knife names.
Sharp.
Right?
So
that's funny.
So I think it's very interesting too. Is one of my just an amazing actor was Eddie Bunker.
I loved him.
And if people don't know who that is, see Reservoir
great
Dogs.
writer, yeah.
And just an amazing talent. And I know he helped
me and Eddie.
you.
Yeah, me and Eddie were actually very, very good friends. That's who got me started in the film industry. I walked onto a movie set actually to hang out with a kid that wanted to stay clean. And
you're like a sober companion?
No, you know what? I was like a sponsor. You just called me up and said,
What year
hey,
was this?
1985.
Wow.
There was a lot of, 85 cocaine was like crazy. You know, it's like, and especially on movie sets. And so I just went to hang out with him and just I'm standing there. This guy says, hey, do you want to be in this movie? And I said, what do I got to do? And he says, do you want to be an extra? I said, extra what? He says, can you act like a convict? I said, I'll give it a shot. I mean, it's like I've been in every penitentiary in the state of California.
Right.
But, he gives me a blue shirt, and I took off my shirt, and he saw that tattoo, and I'll never forget. He goes like this. He goes, and I'm thinking, what neighborhood is that? Stupid. Man.
A frame, the
You
frame
know,
of the
People out there that
camera.
are wondering what
Yeah,
you
he
just
made
did.
the frame of the
I
viewer
think he's giving
for
me a
the
gang
camera.
sign.
Yeah.
I
And
thought
so,
he was giving you a gang sign.
so then, but
It's a good way to get shot if you're a director and don't know it, right?
leave your shirt off. And then this guy comes over and says, hey, you're Danny Trejo. I go, yeah. And he says, I saw you win the lightweight and the welterweight title in San Quentin. I goes, you're Eddie Bunker. And I knew him because
wow.
he used to write writs. He was amazing at writing writs, which have to be written exactly right and according to court
Right, for court documents.
Yeah.
So you'd met him in prison.
Yeah, I'd actually met him a long time before,
Wow.
but
So
I
there's always
really-
these guys in
really-
prison that do legal work, right?
Really smart, and he was. We called him the brain, and so when we ran in, he asked.
That's
me,
my only hope.
He kind of asked me. He said, "Hey, are you still boxing?" I go, "Yeah, I train." He said, "We need somebody to train one of the actors how to box." And I said, "What's it pay?" And he said, $320 a day. And I said, "How bad do you want this guy beat up?" I couldn't make, $320 a day. Are you crazy? I wasn't making that a week.
Right.
And he said, no. You got to be real careful because actors are a little high strung. You know, it might sock you. I said, for $320, give him a stick. You know, yeah, God. So he introduced me to Eric Roberts, and Eric respected me, and you know, I started training him. That was
amazing.
What movie was that?
Runaway Train.
It was an
John
awesome movie.
Voight,
Him and
Mary
John
J.
Voight.
Oh, they all everybody got nominated for first movie. Everybody got nominated for an Oscar. I didn't even know what an Oscar was. I didn't know what.
Isn't that the best in a way though?
I had
to get
no
introduced to
idea
something
what was
and not
going
really
on.
even know
And
what's
it's sort
happening.
of amazing that you were sober. You were doing what you were doing the next right thing.
I had been sober for 17. I got out of the joint in 1969, and I dedicated my life to AA, NA, and helping other people. The CA wasn't started yet, but I met this kid in CA because I spoke to this.
That's Cocaine
CA,
Anonymous for those that don't know.
I spoke to a Cocaine's Anonymous meeting, and Cocaine's Anonymous was started like in '83, so it was still kind of new, but '85 Coke was just crazy. Man.
So we've got 1 minute here. You want to?
Yeah, if everybody just tuned in, we're in the studio tonight with an amazingly good guy, Danny Trejo, who just helps people and happens to be an actor second. And you're listening to Clean Radio Live. That's cleanradio.com. The show's presented tonight by treatmentline.com. Give us a call at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. Andrew's back in town, and he's back in the studio. Welcome back. I missed you.
Thanks, Judy.
And you got a lot of stories to tell, just not on the air. The discussion continues at cleanradio.com. We'll be right back.
Are you struggling with an addiction that's ruining your life? Want to have a confidential conversation with a professional that will immediately assist you? Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs and would like a free drug testing kit and consultation? KLEAN Treatment Center is standing by right now to help those with addictions and the people who care about them. Call 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Or go to KLEAN Treatment Center, that's clean with a K, cleantreatmentcenter.com.
Yeah, welcome back to Clean Radio. Hey, Judah.
Hey, Andrew.
We're back, the dynamic duo of Clean Radio.
I don't know how
we,
dynamic it is,
well,
but
it's pretty dynamic.
Yeah, we tell ourselves it is.
Anyway,
And,
we have a great show here. We're
yeah.
talking about addiction and recovery, especially recovery, and also we're having a lot of discussions about prevention, which is a great thing to talk about.
Let's give out the number first. The number is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. We're in the studio tonight with the amazingly talented Danny Trejo. You could call us again one more time at 888-539-2980. You could email us. Just don't text us.
Machete, don't text.
Classic.
Are we going to explain that to everybody?
Yeah,
that
it's from
doesn't know?
Machete.
Okay, good.
I can't pronounce it correct. The perfect. How to say it? Just it sounds
Machete.
so. It just sounds right. Like you should be able to pronounce that the right way. But something interesting we were talking about before the break was that Danny, you were saying about 1985. You're 17 years sober at that point. You get this call to help somebody, and you get to this set, and all of a sudden this miracle happens. You're on the movie Runaway Train with, Eric Roberts, John Voight gets nominated for an Oscars. And that was the time, and, you're talking about cocaine being huge in the early 80s, and you had these actors that sadly got caught. Yeah. Got caught in the trap. Actors that, could have had it all, whether it be Mickey Rourke, there's a whole, and you've stayed relevant for...
Yeah, I'd like to know how you avoided relapse.
Yeah.
You were around a lot of times there when it must have been pretty tempting. A lot of...
Well, you know what? For me, it's like I chased that dragon all the way to Folsom, and
Right.
And when they talk about, I haven't done that yet, well, for an actor that's making a lot of money, it's really hard to get into trouble because people are protecting them, and you look at some of the actors. I mean, they really had to get down before somebody finally says, "Hey, you're going to the joint."
Right,
right.
Damn, you're sleeping in someone else's bed. With I mean, just it goes on, and then it's like I have it over people because when that temptation comes, I see Folsom because I know what's at the end of that.
Right, you've been there already.
You see, I know what's already at the end of that. Folsom, San Quentin, Death Row, Soledad. Okay, well, wait a minute.
The hospital.
And so to leave this program, to leave AANACA, to leave those programs is to die going, saying, go to jail. Well, I don't feel like doing that today.
Right.
And it's the blessings that I've gotten being clean and being sober. I'm on top of the world.
Have you ever had a run-in with, other people that, on the set and you've been able to deliver a message?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. No, I'm always looking for, somebody to grab, immediately. And people start reaching out. It's like they know. I let them know Everybody that I works with knows I don't drink and I don't use. They know that. You know what I mean? And
do you see people on sets using, and then is it awkward, or
Oh, I used to catch them coming out of the trailer. I love it. Hey, did you do blow? Wow, is that any good?
But in the beginning, when they first must have met you before, like a lot of people obviously now know you're sober. Did they think did they used to invite you back? Hey, Danny, come on, we're going.
Yeah, automatic. And it's like, hey, I don't do it. That's simple.
And did they understand right away?
No, they don't understand that anybody don't do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I'll tell you about it sometimes. I'm not going to tell you about it while you're sucking it up your nose or trying to put it in your arm. But we'll talk about it.
Do you think that's a problem? We're talking about kids, and you have a heavy involvement with trying to help teenagers, and it's something we try to do also at KLEAN. It's it's trying to spread this message out there that not everybody is getting high.
Yeah.
And there was a movie out this year, not a lot of people saw it. It was called Project X. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it was just about a bunch of people getting high. And,
was I in it?
I don't know. Let me look.
I remember first stopping drinking.
I didn't see it.
I remember when I first stopped drinking, I went to a restaurant, and I was amazed how many people weren't drinking in the restaurant. Yeah. And when I was drinking, I just assumed everybody was drinking around me.
Of course.
Right? And then you stop, and then you look around, you're like, oh.
Right, or the amounts.
Like,
or the copious amounts.
That's another whole thing.
It's so funny. A long time ago, when you said, no, I don't drink, people would look at you like you were crazy, right? Now, all you guys say, no, I'm the designated driver. And they, okay, cool. Right. Cool, man.
They look up to you, right?
I get the waiter that's disappointed that the bill's going to be $100 less.
But it's really funny, and I always tell people, it's like there's no better guy to date than somebody that's sober. I mean, we're always a designated driver.
Yeah, you always
know where we are.
You always get the chicks. Because my old man's so drunk. Well, you want me to take you home?
I'm a sober, nice guy. And no, but I think you must meet tons of people, especially when they're young, and it's really hard because there are a lot of people out there. And I heard we hear this all the time. Somebody gets sober, or they're newly, or they want to get sober, and they're like, "Well, what am I going to do when I get married?" Yeah. And you say, "Do you even have a girlfriend?" I mean, these are things we hear hear all the time, and it's like these unknown fears that people have, and it's like that's why I think we say so much: stay present, live in the day.
It's so funny. It's like people talk about, well, what am I going to do? All my friends. The minute you stop drinking, your friends don't want to be around you. Really,
you don't even have friends, right? Yeah, they probably don't even know their names.
Start realizing, wait a minute, man. The only thing we had in common was booze or drugs,
hanging out,
and that's why they call it, users, because that's what we do. We use each other. It's not like based on friendship. We use each other. I mean, I've in the program tried to teach you how to be sharing, caring, and kind. I've never heard a drug addict say, "Hey, come on, I got an ounce."
Let's share.
Let's share.
Right. Unless you're a beautiful woman. Beautiful women have it a little different.
Then I'll share. So.
By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio Live. That's KLEAN with a K. You might be listening to us on our flagship station, News Talk 980, KFWB, or Extreme Talk XM Channel 165. Give us a call. We're in the studio tonight with the amazing actor, Danny Trejo. You can ask him any questions you want. The number is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. And we know this is a very hard topic to talk about, getting help and all that stuff. So Facebook us, text message us, whatever you got to do to get help. Just give us a call no matter how you get through. And I think that's a big message that's not shared enough, is that, just call.
Yeah.
You know, or
First
you're going to
step.
be okay.
Yeah. Just take the first step. Call. You know, reach out. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. It's like a lot of the people that I work with. It's like, you know, now I'm finding more and more people in the business. I'm working on the Sons of Anarchy. A lot of them guys are sober now. It's like, wow. You know, it's like, it's awesome because we can ride motorcycles, do whatever we want to do.
It's a great show, by the way.
And it's so funny. I thought my life was going to be like boring. You know what I mean? And
Hardly have a boring life.
We'll talk about that a little bit. So you got sober in 1968. How was it walking into that first 12-step meeting?
Well, you know, I got sober in 68. I got out of the pen in 69. So the hardest year for me was getting sober in the pen because everybody knew I got loaded. Everybody knew I dealt drugs. Everybody knew I was a bad guy. And all of a sudden I'm trying to, you know. So it was harder in the joint, you know, and then when I came out, it was like, wow. And I just, you know, I loved it, first of all, just about being free, you know. So every time I thought about drinking or using, it was like, you know, yard recall. You know, wait, that's right. Let's get in one for chow. And my life's so good now. I'm scared to death that somebody's gonna wake me up and say, "Hey, come on, let's go to chow. You were just dreaming."
So it's amazing you're talking about that, right? Because we hear that all the time. People are like, you know, and that's what I love about in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's one of those things, and it says we're not a glum lot, and it basically reassures people that this isn't the end of your life. This is really the only right. This is the only disease that I think that leaves the sufferer in better condition than before they even had it. Nobody walks away from cancer and says, wow, thank God I got that cancer. I feel great. But alcoholism and drug addiction, when you get sober, your life is better than it was ever. And so you were scared, and it's amazing you're talking about this. You were so scared that this was it, you know, that no fun was to be had. And that's 44 years later. I mean, talk about that. I mean, like, how amazing must that be?
My journey has just been unbelievable. I met some of the most beautifulest people. I've been to some of the most unbelievable places, and just, you know, it's like all because of being sober and being clean. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't sober and clean. And I meet people. Yeah, but what am I going to do? You won't have enough time to do. I love it when people start telling me. They'll call me, hey, Danny, you know what, I'm really bored. And I say, oh, it's because you're boring. What are you doing? What are you doing? And they'll say, nothing. Well, okay. You know, come on over. Let's go do something. And it's like, and you start realizing when I get bored, it's because I'm being boring.
Yeah, it's amazing how the obvious things like pass people by, right? Yeah. You know,
somebody's sitting in front of the TV watching, you know, Young and the Restless. It's like, wait a minute.
Right.
You know, there's got to be something.
Was that canceled? Is that why you could bag on that?
I was on The Young and the Restless, so I can't.
You were on The Young and the Restless?
You know what? I got to tell you something. I worked with some of the biggest actors in the world, right? And I tell my mom, I worked with Robert De Niro. She goes, that's real good, mijo. Get a job. You know? Mom, she didn't believe I had a job.
Right.
I did 3 episodes of The Young and the Restless, and she was oh my God, mijo, we saw you. I just won an Oscar.
That doesn't count.
She could show all her friends too. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Right.
By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio Live. That's KLEAN with a K. We're in the studio tonight with the amazingly talented Danny Trejo, who's been the star of The Young and the Restless and the upcoming movie. Say it, please.
Machete Kills.
Yeah, you just say it the right way. And we're talking about. I think tonight we're talking.
Well,
about
I'd like to talk about. You know, you're so drawn to speaking to kids,
I
and
love it, yeah.
you know, and did you start using as a young adolescent, or?
I had an uncle. Uncle Gilbert, who was my mentor. Man, turned me on to grass. I was about 8 years old.
Wow.
Got a fix of heroin when I was about 12, and it was just balls out from then on. And he was an armed robber, gangster, and everybody else seemed to be a laborer. So I said, wait a minute, I think this armed robber gangster is a lot.
So what message do you think you could have told yourself when you were that age? Do you think there's anything you could have said?
You know what? I wish somebody would have came and said, look, prison is not like in the movies, and where you're headed is here, and and given me the blueprint. I wish my uncle would have did it, because that's probably the only guy that I would have heard it from.
Been able to hear it from. Right?
You know what I mean? And what happened is he kept going. I got clean, and I started trying to help him, and he would stay clean 30, 60 days, and then go back. So he ended up overdosing. But it was amazing. It's like the whatever I've got now. When I walk onto one of them campuses, it's like I've got everybody's attention. They want to hear what that guy from Con Air's got to say. Right. There's
so
not so much Danny
what
Trejo.
was it that you would really like to have heard? I mean, what is that message?
I think that, what, this isn't going to be as fun as you think it is. Right. You know what I mean? I mean, when you hear that, come on out, we have the house surrounded, you think you're going to say, come and get me, coppers. You're not. Your voice is going to go up 8 octaves, and you're going to yell, don't shoot! Please!
I can understand that. I can relate to
that. It actually is a great question. It's like, so do you think sometimes you had to go through what you had to go through so you could help the people you've gotten to help?
You know what? The karma, the whatever, I don't know. I know that because I went through what I've gone through, that I've been able to have kids that, like, I was walking past into John's Market one night. John's, it used to be Vaughn's.
Right, and they had to put that yellow
thing. The Mexicans bought it. So they put a J, you know what I mean? And sometimes you can see the V behind it, you know what I mean? And be walking in there like 12:30 at night or something, and have some guy say, hey, Mr. Trejo, yeah, you talked to my juvenile hall like 3 years ago, man. I really heard it, man. Thank you.
Huh.
So you working? Yeah, I'm the manager. So, oh, man, it's like something it's like such a blessing to know that you got to play a part in somebody's life.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
You got to play a part in somebody's life. Wow, I think that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
No matter what, actor, candlestick maker, I don't care.
Doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter. But
so this is something we've spoken about a lot, and is anonymity. And you've decided to break your anonymity.
Well, I mean, come on. I was on the front page of the LA Times.
Which is, I couldn't agree with you more. It's funny that
it's not like anybody doesn't know it.
Right. You have tons of alcoholics that are peeing on the street. All of a sudden, they get sober, and they're like, "Oh, don't tell anybody."
I know.
Yeah, just keep it a secret. They were peeing on the street the night before.
Yeah.
The next day, all of a sudden, decorum, please, decorum.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to call. I'm so embarrassed. I don't want to call somebody. Wait a minute, man.
Right.
If that guy had cocaine, you'd be pounding on his front door.
So, what do you say to actors out there that actors do? I think, because I grew up watching a lot of actors. I mean, they were my heroes. I'd watch these TV shows, and all of the guys I was heroes of were actually really alcoholics later in life, and people don't realize that actors do have an important message. They do become, as Charles Barkley doesn't want to be a role model, but you are.
You know what? It's like, well, anybody that doesn't want to be a role model, you're doing something wrong.
Right.
But me personally, it's like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's like, you know what? This is what I do. This is what I am. If there's any way I can help you, let me help you. You can't borrow money from me. Don't even ask you. I'll beat your ass. But it's like, otherwise, let's do this thing together.
Right.
Guess you're out of luck with that,
Judah. That's what we're here for.
And do you find that a lot of people, even if the reason people are asking you for help is because you are from the guy from
Con Air.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Desperado.
Yeah. And
I liked Heat.
I loved Heat.
Machete, I loved Heat.
He was,
you could go through the list, and it's fascinating how many of these amazing blockbusters.
I have to ask my fan questions.
Okay, go for
I
it.
loved Heat. I thought you were just amazing in that film. I just thought the whole role reversal, and then you were the guy that sold them out, but just incredible. Like, what was it like working with Michael Mann? And
well, you know what? It's really funny. I'd worked with Michael Mann before. I did a film called Camarena Drug Wars with him, Kiki Camarena story, and Michael Mann.
Was Stephen Bauer in that?
I think so.
God, why do I remember that? Sorry, go back to
But Michael Mann did a film called The Jericho Mile in Folsom.
Right.
And in order to get the Mexicans to work, he had to talk to the main guys there. So he ended up becoming friends with my uncle and my Uncle Gilbert and a couple of other the shot callers up there. And so when I showed up on Heat, he said, "Hey, Danny, how's Gilbert?" And I said, "Yeah, he OD'd and gone." Oh man, so I already knew Michael. And he said, "Well, I got this role for you," and we did that. And I mean, it was amazing working with Robert De Niro.
Right.
And Robert De Niro did Machete for me. So when I met Robert De Niro on the set of Machete after being with him on Heat, I mean, he goes, "You, number one on the call sheet. You made it. You."
That's great.
But
Then I said, "Can I get you some coffee, Mr. in a minute?" You know what I mean? Yeah, he was awesome.
Do you think the authenticity that you have, I mean, when you get sober, it brings out this authenticity. And do you think, I mean, obviously it attracts people to you, where like people look at, it's like if you're drinking, let's be honest, if you're drinking and using, nobody's walking up to you and saying, but you offer this honesty that people just like on the set must love to just walk up to you.
Well, you know what? It's like Eddie had said something one time. Eddie had said, you have to be approachable. You have to be able to you have to say hello first because your look kind of keeps people away. So you've mastered that look. I mean, everything about me has been to intimidate because that's what you have to do. And so I'll be the first to say hello. Always, hi, what are you doing? I mean, and it kind of shocks people sometimes, But actors are funny. We got a big ego. We got this ego that tells us you can't tell me anything. I've been nominated for an Oscar. Man, I've been this, I've been that, I've been this, and that's what kills us. That's why we can't reach out.
Right.
I mean,
It's hard to hear somebody else say anything, right? I mean,
exactly. It's like especially if I'm an actor. See, I got to a place to where I didn't care what you were. It didn't matter, man. I need help.
By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio Live. That's KLEAN with a K. You might be listening to us on KFWB News Talk 980 or Extreme Talk Channel 165 or at KLEANradio.com. Give us a call at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. We're in the studio tonight with the amazingly talented Danny Trejo. And it almost sounds like you'd rather be called philanthropist, person that helps people.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you've done this amazing.
Someone goes out on his wife. Philanthropist? Is that a philanthropist?
No, that's philanderer.
Oh, okay.
Philanthropist.
I don't go out on my wife.
You donate so much of your time to helping teenagers.
Hey,
out
being
there.
a philanderer. No, I can't say it. Being a philanderer could be a philanthropist.
Yes, it's you're giving of something else.
Yeah,
and that would be quite the ego.
Yeah, that'd be an SLA issue.
Yeah,
sex
but
and love addicts.
You were in Romania, and I think it's important to talk about this. You were saying they were on the set, right? And the amount of drug abuse, and you were going to the sewers to help people. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit what's going on
in
out
Romania? There's a lot of homeless teenagers, a lot of homeless kids, and they all live in the sewers. I mean, they're literally in the sewers. But it's amazing. They get like wired and pipe in TVs
TV in the sewer
and stuff.
They're like, I saw Machete.
And so I got all the shampoos and stuff out of the Hilton and took it down.
Wow.
But that's that's what I love doing. I mean, it's what I do. If I can help somebody in any way, man, that's what I do because the rewards are tenfold.
So what do we say to kids? What do we say to teenagers? And is it?
What do we say to parents?
What do we say to parents? What do you get a chance to meet a lot?
Well, it was really funny. It's like I can remember, these two youngsters I was working with, two guys I was working with. They're about 16, 17 years old, 15 years old. Now they're both hooked on pills, and their parents they got them in rehab, and then they're out of rehab, and they're doing good, and they're going to meetings, and all of a sudden, Mom says, well, it's a school night. You have to be in at 8. And it's like, Mom, they were both knocked out, in their front yard 4 months ago.
Right.
So it's like now all of a sudden it's like, let's let's be home at 8 o'clock, not go to a meeting. It's like meetings are over at 9:30. I mean, there's got to be once you are starting rehab, then it's like parents have to understand. Wait a minute. Rehab means this whole family has to be rehab. What we were doing in the past didn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Didn't work.
And that's one of the hardest things, right? That's one of the hardest things we deal
Again,
with.
I mean, and also most parents are so angry and bitter. And
I'm not going to let you
resentful.
tell me how to work my kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God, are you kidding
Because it
me?
might destroy the defense mechanisms that they built up, right?
Well, I think all parents feel guilty when their children have a problem. You know, they feel that not only not only do they
my
feel
fault.
the pain and the worry, but they feel guilt and they feel shame about it. And we see that a lot with addiction and alcoholism. There's all this shame and guilt. A lot of it's societal, but they just feel it, and that's a big thing to overcome. Is getting to a place of forgiveness where you can work together and have it be
forgiving
about
yourself.
loving each other.
Forgiving yourself. Parents do the best they can do with what they got. It's
Right.
like but right now you figure that drugs and alcohol. I was walking past Venice High School one time. I was just walking, and I'm walking. I'm seeing all these kids running out, and they're yelling about. Well, no. He's got the sherm. I mean, they're like talking about. I'm thinking, damn, man. I mean, it's so it's, we're in a drug infested world, and we've got people chasing after our kids to use drugs. And so if if our kids want to do, they're going to do it.
Right.
And they're going to find ways and means to get more.
What do you think about like this new? I mean, we have generation now that's just on prescription drugs.
Yeah.
I mean,
No more
just,
meds. De
Yeah,
novo.
I mean it's become quite it's a big shift. Street drugs have largely become less popular. Until they become mixed when the prescription meds don't work, and then people find it's cheaper to do meth.
Yeah, we just had a huge bust in Florida where there's
Big pill mills down there.
so-
Yeah.
But because parents aren't realizing it, like the dentist gives you the Vicodin.
Yeah.
You might or might not take it, but you're leaving that in your medicine cabinet. All of a sudden, you have about 10 bottles stockpiled of Vicodin from the 10 trips you went to the dentist, and your kid is going to go into the medicine cabinet, or his friends are going to go pill surfing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much easier these days for teenagers to get medicine from the medicine cabinet, drugs.
Well, people that
It's always
they go to our houses to buy them, and they go through
Right.
the medicine cabinets
always
at the
Right.
houses they're looking to buy.
Right, but it's like when I was growing up in Brooklyn, you could still order a beer at the age of 16 as long as you could sit on the bar stool, and they've really worked, as long as they've really worked on those laws. So they almost pushed, teenagers, and I'm not saying it's
Well,
okay
the
for
internet
them.
has changed so
Right.
much. I mean, you get anything on the internet now.
Right,
It's just,
and it's very terrifying, but it's amazing that you're out there. I mean, and I think to everybody out there, if you're a parent, there are places for you to get help. I think that's so important to talk about. Whether it's Al-Anon, giving us a call, and it's one of those things we do for free. We try to help parents. We try to make people understand and learn the lesson.
So we got 3 minutes left in the show, which I can't believe it's going so quickly. But tell us a little bit about Machete Kills. I'd love to hear a little plug.
We've got I love to work with women that God worked overtime on. I mean, God. So we have a secret coming up. I can't divulge. We have a woman coming on that it's going to freak everybody out. And it's like she's just amazing.
She doesn't have one leg that comes
And
off.
no,
and shoots people, right?
shoots people. No, and like Mel, Charlie Sheen, and there's a whole cast of Antonio Banderas, and it just goes on and on and on. And it's been, it is just like I said, it makes Machete look like a little nursery rhyme. He just gets killing everybody, And I was doing wind sprints in 112 degrees in Austin, Texas, and so I did a month there. I came back. I got to work on Sons of Anarchy for 2 days, and then I go back and finish Machete another month.
And you also
when
quit
does the movie
smoking.
come out? It's going to go into post in
February,
February
probably
or so?
February, March. Yeah.
Well, we'd love to have you back on when it
I'd
comes
love
out.
it.
That
I'd
would be an
love it.
honor
You know
for
what I
us.
mean? Yeah.
But also, he's quit smoking about 1.5 years ago,
Oh,
so
yeah.
he was able to do these wind
I got
sprints.
hypnotized, and it's amazing. Juanita Holmes, she's in Hollywood, and she just literally hypnotized me, and I had to get my 5 closest friends
All around you.
Yeah, so I
Quit at
got
the
them
same time.
hypnotized. None of us have smoked.
Really?
in over a year and a half.
A year and a half.
I gotta go. I mean, or either
You need to do something.
Yeah, I need to do something. I'm smoking a little too much.
I'm telling you, call her while you go home.
I'm gonna look
It's
it up.
amazing.
And I encourage everybody out there to look it up too. But it's also everybody out there. If the one thing you're listening from the show tonight is, it's like go in and try to help people.
That's it.
And it's like I think that's the coolest message that Danny Trejo, just an awesome actor that I'm sure one day in 50 years on your tombstone you wanted to read. He helped people, and it's really cool. I mean, I'm honored to sit next to you for that reason alone. As the work
I would like
you do
to
with
say
teens.
he's not really dead.
No, you're right. But in 50 years. Yeah. And
well, Danny, thank you so much for coming in. It's a real pleasure to have you here on Clean Radio.
Love
and
you guys, man. Thank
for
you.
those that want to see the video, you can watch it on Clean Radio. It will be posted Wednesday night. If you haven't seen it, if you're listening on XM,
or on
you can
Facebook,
go to KLEANradio.com,
yeah.
and there's a link from Facebook, Facebook/Clean Radio, or Facebook.com/Clean Radio.
And we also have an amazing show next week. You're not going to be here, but Jennifer Easy on the Eyes Jimenez will be subbing in. And we got the awesome and talented actor Jack McGee will be in.
We'll be in New York, but maybe I'll call in.
Yeah, please call in. We got Jack McGee from The Fighter and, like Danny, every other movie that happens in America. And the discussion...
I got a movie coming out right now called Badass.
Who you do?
Badass, and another one called Recoil with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Who's awesome. So if you're out there, go see Badass. And if I just got bleeped for that, what am I going to do? Danny Trejo made me do it.
Right. Well, anyway, so Clean Radio, we're going to return next Sunday night, and the conversation continues at cleanradio.com. And have a good night, everybody.
See you next week.
Good night.
Thank you.
Are you struggling with an addiction that's ruining your life? Want to have a confidential conversation with a professional that will immediately assist you? Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs and would like a free drug testing kit and consultation? KLEAN Treatment Center is standing by right now to help those with addictions and the people who care about them. Call 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Or go to KLEAN Treatment Center, that's clean with a K, cleantreatmentcenter.com.